Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the Planetary Destruction challenge for the Legendary Vegeta event, otherwise known as the Fighting Legend Vegeta event, and we are going to be taking a look at the team that you can build to take on the stage. Now I've avoided using the Int Super Saiyan Broly. The Int Legendary Super Saiyan Broly is obviously the Planetary Destruction lead. I've tried to avoid using him just because obviously not a lot of people are going to have him. He hasn't appeared on a lot of banners since he came out for Saiyan Day last year. So realistically, I think I'm going to avoid using him. However, I am going to be using a Inhuman Deeds team, which is going to be something that's pretty fun to utilize, and we're going to be using a friend Broly. So we're using an Inhuman Deeds team with a friend Broly, which is a pretty solid way to go around. Now I have for my team the Tech Vegeta, the Tech Great Ape Vegeta. So he leads Inhuman Deeds, obviously 150% across the board. Also the Giant Ape category, but that's not too important. He's going to have an additional damage or 3 key and attack of 60% for the rest of battle if he faces a Goku enemy. Unfortunately, he's not facing a Goku's enemy, so he just has key plus 3 and attack and defense of 100% with an additional attack and defense of 60% when performing a super attack, plus an additional defense of 60%. As well, if it is an ultra super attack, he guards all attacks and has an additional key plus 3 and attack of 30% within the same turn when guard is active. For the most part, we're actually just fine to leave him in the first slot. He'll tank more than fine, even if he gets supered because of the guard mechanic. It's only the final 2 phases where he'll take a little bit of damage, but we're not too concerned about that at this point in time. We will contemplate shifting him out later on. But he does really great in this first slot, and he allows us to use another pretty useful Vegeta. Now this Vegeta can actually, you can actually get him with the physical, with the God Dragon Stone. He's a very frequent banner unit, and he's really solid actually. The physical Vegeta, he's a pretty solid unit. Obviously another unit that receives buffs against Goku's family units. Unfortunately, we are not facing one. He has key plus 1 at the start of each turn and attack of 70% when there is a Goku's family category enemy. He doesn't have that, but he does have 100% attack and defense when performing a super attack. He also has key plus 7 and defense is 70% when HP is 70% or less, which is really good. And he has a chance of performing a critical hit of 7% per physical key sphere obtained. So he's really solid, raises his defense, raises his attack. He's a unit that a lot of people are going to have. He pairs up really well with Vegeta. They share quite a few links actually. Same warrior race, royal lineage, over 9,000, same pride. So they share a lot of great links, and they're a pretty fun combination to utilize. Alongside them, we're using the Int Golden Frieza. He also is a pretty older, easy aid unit. Really solid though. He raises defense and causes supreme damage to the enemy. He has attack and defense of 90% at the start of turn, and gives all target Goku category allies key plus 2 and attack and defense of 30%. He has a high chance of performing a critical hit when facing an enemy whose name includes Goku. So obviously he's not too useful in the sense that obviously he's not going to get his crit, because we're obviously not facing a Goku, so it's not like he's gonna build up crit or anything like that or have crit chance. But he is still a pretty useful unit because he does provide support to a decent amount of our rotation. We have here the AGL Frieza and we have the Transforming Frieza, a combination we used on the Sworn Enemies stage. Obviously AGL Frieza is not necessarily going to have his guaranteed criticals against a Goku enemy, but he is still going to be really solid overall. And Tech Transforming Frieza very similarly is also going to be quite solid. The AGL Frieza obviously has ki of 2 and attack and defense of 100%. He also launches an additional super attack within the same turn after receiving an attack. He has a medium chance of launching an additional super attack as a second or third attacker in a turn, plus an additional attack and defense of 100% for 6 turns from the start of battle. He has attack of 50% starting from the 7th turn, and has ki +1 at the start of each turn up to 3, plus an additional attack of 50% when there's a superclass enemy. So that is something that is going to proc, which makes him quite useful. And he performs a critical hit if he's facing a Goku enemy. That's not really too important to us, but we will have the active skill if we need, along with also obviously just having him as a unit. Now the big benefit of Frieza is obviously that ability to stack his defense, but you need to make sure that you get his 18 ki, because it's going to help you for the most part. Then we have the tech transforming Frieza. Obviously recently got his, well, semi-recently, about a year old now, got his Extreme Z Awakening, which is still really solid. He raises attack and defense on his super attack. He has attack and defense of 110% plus an additional attack of 10% and defense of 40% when attacking superclass enemies. And he also recovers 11% HP at the start of turn and transforms when conditions are met. He's going to slowly just keep transforming. As he does each time, he will be gaining additional defense of 10% every single time. Plus he will also be gaining additional defense and more attack slowly as he goes out in terms of facing superclass enemies. So he really starts to hit quite hard. And also that 15% HP recovery is going to come in handy. Not to mention he has type advantage against the final phase. So Frieza looking really solid. Obviously he shares 4 links with the AGL Frieza, which is always pretty fun to utilize, I guess. But yeah, he definitely does do a very solid job overall. So those are our pairings, and then the final floating unit that we do have is obviously we have the Friend Broly, which we'll go through, and we also have the Saiyan Pride Vegeta Exchange Goku unit. So obviously Broly is the Planetary Destruction or Movie Boss's lead. Big thing about Broly is that he reduces damage received by 18% and has an 18% crit chance and has a medium chance of launching an additional super attack. But he gains an additional crit chance of 18% and damage reduction after performing a super attack when there is a pure Saiyans or hybrid Saiyans enemy. So Broly floating around means he's going to be floating around 36% crit chance and 36% damage reduction. We won't be using him too much here. He's just going to float around doing decent damage, but we'll probably switch him into rotation at some point. He also has a really good active skill as well, which will augment his damage. And yeah, for the most part, we have a pretty solid team build around him. Now, if you do have the Int Broly for yourself, obviously, run double Int Broly. He's definitely, I don't want to say he's the best Planetary Destruction unit. He's definitely probably one of the best for this event, or for this challenge. He's very strong, obviously great against pure Saiyans. So he's really quite solid. In terms of the final unit, obviously we are using the Vegeta Exchange Goku unit. Vegeta, obviously just a great floater to utilize with that additional ki +2, defense of 150%. We have the revive skill as well. It's really solid, just allows us to basically reset at certain points if need be, just to kind of regain health. Not only to mention that, but Goku is great. Goku, although really not seen that much, Goku is great, and he also reduces damage received by 30%. Obviously when facing an extreme class enemy, that doesn't necessarily happen here, but he's got a great link set. He links pretty decently with Broly. Got prepared for battle, Saiyan Warrior Race, Saiyan Lineage Fierce Battle. So yeah, overall him and Vegeta make a nice pairing partner for Broly, and at the end of the day, if you do want to kind of run the two of them, it is pretty decent to run the two of them together, and I really like this a lot. Like I said, the revive skill really gives us a strong capability to take on the event quite well and just reset and just kind of take a turn when needed. it's really solid. So yeah, beyond obviously them, there are a couple other notable mentions for Planetary Destruction units. So you've obviously got Int LR Cell, you've got Strength LR Turles, Strength LR Broly, Tech LR Broly. I think in terms of the LRs, I would probably say Int LR Cell is the most usable, and then Strength Turles is also incredibly usable. Turles is getting a bit of a boost with the AGL Turles getting an easy A, which is obviously something that's really quite good for Strength Turles. I think Strength Turles would have been pretty solid anyway if he just raised defense on his supers. I don't think Strength Turles needs much to really be brought back into the kind of fold or into, this area. So yeah, obviously Strength Turles probably still usable. The full power Frieza I wouldn't say is usable, nor would I say Tech Broly is usable. Tech Broly will do huge damage, and you definitely can use him as a floating damage dealer. He's not terrible or anything like that. He'll definitely get the job done for you. But the real issue is just that they can't really do too much else. Tech Broly, fortunately, is a pretty nice pairing partner with the Int Broly, so if you're running the two of those, that's always pretty cool for you. In terms of other units that are noticeable, obviously AGL Turles, once he gets his Extreme Z Awakening, will be pretty cool. The AGL Kid Gohan's pretty good, although he doesn't really fit on any team link-wise, but he is pretty solid. The third form Frieza is really good. Then you've got the final form Int Free-to-Play Frieza. He's okay, but obviously he's not facing a Goku unit, so he's not nearly as useful as he was in the Goku's family. In the Fighting Legend Goku event. I don't know why I thought it was the Goku's family Fighting Legend event. But yeah, basically, he's not as useful. The Battle of Fates Kid Buu is pretty useful. Cooler, Strength Cooler should be okay. Only problem is the chance of him being absolutely turned by the final phase, which, isn't, always the most fun thing. But hey, by the way, here we get the active skill. Probably one of the best active skills in the game. Really awesomely animated, just really cool. So yeah, those are kind of your options. Final form Cooler, the physical one's also pretty decent. Yeah, the choices are not bad, but they're just not spectacular. It's a bit of a wish-wash category, so it's a little bit all over the place, if I'm honest. But yeah, for the most part, it's still a relatively straightforward category to utilize. You can see here, by the way, we've got a pretty interesting combo. We've obviously got the Int Broly alongside the Goku, which is pretty fun. Also, I used Broly's active skill here, so Vegeta is just literally evading all the high damage that Broly was going to do, which is always great. But then we have Goku, who looks really good. Goku's awesome. When you can get this Goku out, he's really fun to use. I really like this unit. I actually think it's probably one of the most underrated units in the game, or just a lot of people don't maybe use them as much as they could, but I think they're great. And if you use them as a floater, they are really solid. As a unit, they are really good. And Goku has 30% damage reduction against most of the bosses in Red Zone and stuff like that. So, well, all of them technically. So, yeah, pretty fun team to run. So yeah, then in terms of everything else, this team does fine. There's nothing too wild about this team. Obviously AGL full power Frieza, he just does huge damage, big boy damage, huge numbers. He really just brings a lot of DPS to the table, which we desperately need because we do struggle with that a little bit. The Tech Golden Frieza, also fantastic at this point after all his transforming. The healing also helps, but he just does a lot of damage. Obviously that type advantage, those big stats, all of it comes together to really let him do a lot of damage. And then even this physical Vegeta, you know, at this point he's stacked up really, really well. So he's starting to do some decent damage. It's just a little bit unfortunate that obviously there's no real kind of, you know, there's no real incentive to having Vegeta like there would be in the Goku's family event. I think that, well, the Fighting Legend Goku event, sorry. But I think that's the reason why they did it. They just didn't want people to obviously have these additional bonuses that these Vegeta characters can bring. It's a little bit, yeah, underwhelming, but yeah, for the most part, all went smoothly. Broly's gonna wrap it up with a nice crit super attack. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty swell time. I think Planetary Destruction, although a little bit limited as a category, does still have enough options for you to kind of work with. Although I must admit there is quite a decent lack of free-to-play options, with only really the AGL Cooler being the decent free-to-play option, realistically speaking. But you can kind of work around it if need be. I just think, you know, there's not as many options as some of the other challenges. But hey, so that's it for the Planetary Destruction mission. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, stay safe, and bye.